Today, we're going through the top six. That's the top 6 ways that board games are better than video games. This isn't to say that video games are bad, because they're not. If you list off my top hobbies, video games are gonna be on that list. So this is just why board games are specifically better than video games. Recording outside because my daughter and her friend are doing geostone, kind of like excavating things right above where I normally film in front of my games. So reason number 1 why board games are better than video games: no screens. I realize the irony of saying this while you're probably watching this on a screen. If you've ever checked your screen time on your phone, you might be a little shocked to see how high that number is. And if you're like me, you have a job where you gotta be on the computer basically all day while you're working. Well, maybe not the entire time.
Is it my turn to speak yet? I've got a good one.
But most of the time. Board games are obviously a chance to detach from that. Some board games will have a mobile app that'll be required to support the game, but you're never gonna feel like you're playing a phone game or you're on a screen or you're playing a board game. You know, I'm not used to filming while walking here. I feel like I'm not actually breathing enough, like walking up a hill. So board games are great for that. You get to actually finally take a break from the digital world, maybe give your eyes a break, avoid any of the health problems that might come from excessive screen usage. Plus, there's something about the tactile appeal of board games that can actually make it enjoyable. Board game reviewers like Shut Up and Sit Down will often invoke things. Is that a golf ball? Yes, that's a golf ball. Board game reviewers will often invoke things like the tactile feel of components and make allusions to them appearing appetizing in interesting ways and just play around with that. Now, I don't necessarily feel that way all the time. Sometimes I think I kind of get it though. Hold on, I gotta shorten this. It's a not totally different area of the brain that appreciates the tactile feel of pieces in a nicely produced board game compared to, say, I don't know, one of those like ASMR meals they make, tiny food videos. I don't need to go down this road. Point is, get away from the screens with the board games. That's number 1. Number 2, containment. The main barrier to entry for board games is the rule book. And it's a bit of a chore sometimes to read the rule book before playing a game when you have other hobbies that you could be jumping to. Like, well, golf has some barriers down. Oh no. If you want to just watch sports or watch a movie or a TV show, you can just start watching it. You don't have to read a rule book. Video games, you don't have to read a rule book before playing those either. The only time you'd have to read a rule book maybe would be like, getting a PlayStation game in 1995. Ever since then, you haven't had to read a rule book. But this creates a healthy amount of distance. If you're anything like me, you have an addictive-ish personality. And that means that if you have the temptation to play a game, you're often going to give in to that temptation. And that temptation could be while you're working or when you're spending time with your family or anything else that you probably don't need to be playing a game during. I have thankfully never heard of anyone getting in a car accident because they were playing a board game while driving.
I think it's time to put the hurt on the Ukraine.
The worst you can do is maybe have a card game set up right next to your desk where you're doing important things and you occasionally turn over and play the card game and distract yourself that way. If that's the worst you can get in terms of feeding an addiction, it's not that bad for board games. It's tough to have a board gaming addiction that's actually an unhealthy habit. You can get addicted to board games, don't get me wrong. You can get addicted to buying board games, which might be a bit of an unhealthy habit, but you're not gonna be playing them for 8 hours a day when you should be doing other things. So number 2, the hobbies contained. Number 3, no talent required. Different hobbies will require a certain amount of talent. For example, sports. To play sports, it helps to have talent. Besides the fact that a lot of people have been playing sports for their whole lives and other people, their bodies can't really play sports as well as they used to, and it's kind of a safety risk if they try to attempt it.
Larry, that could have been me.
We get off that kick. It's over. It's done with. You can't play.
Video games, some people are more talented and more able to learn video games quickly too, by virtue of either just how their brain works or by the fact that they've been playing games for most of their life. Board games, this is going to be less of an issue. In fact, usually when you play a board game, you're not going to be playing the same game so much that a few of you are going to be much better than everyone else. In fact, usually when you play a board game or you set up a game for game night, you're talking about a game that people have played maybe once or twice for the most part. And even if someone has played it a lot, that's no guarantee that they're going to win. There are some board games and some card games especially that can have this skill problem. So Magic the Gathering, for example, is a game where people obviously going to have different skill levels. Games like Dominion, some people get really good at Dominion. But those are the exception and not the rule. To be clear, I'm talking about board games, not miniatures games or role-playing games. Board games can have miniatures. I'm not talking about tabletop miniatures games like Warhammer or war games. And I'm not talking about Dungeons and Dragons, as role-playing games are kind of their own thing. I'm only talking about board games. One of my favorite times playing a video game was at a coworker friend's house. He has a once-a-year LAN party. And this particular year, Fortnite was relatively new. So we all jumped in and played Fortnite cooperatively. We all had our consoles in the room. We were doing well as a team, and it was exciting and a lot of fun because we got towards the end. None of us were very good. Maybe one of us had played before, and that was it. Knowing that if I were getting to shoot out with anyone else, I was a total underdog because I didn't know quite what I was doing. But that's where the drama kind of came from. And we're in the same room, like, where do I go? And like, I don't know how to do any of the construction things, but that was fun. Those moments happen a lot more often with board games compared to video games because you don't have the skill gap. Reason number 3 why board games are better than video games is no talents required. Number 4, no advertising. You play mobile games. You know what I'm referring to when I talk about freemium games.
I downloaded Yum Yum Sparkly Gem Force because it was free.
Games that are supposedly free.
Then I made my first in-app purchase. Before I knew it, I had spent my allowance, then my birthday money. I lost my crutches!
But they try to insert into the game different advertisements because they had to make money somehow. With video games, you'll have season passes now and more expansions for skins and things like that. Things that don't even necessarily add to the game that they try to get you to buy. Board games obviously have expansions, but board games, you're not going to open the game and find one of the spaces on the board is sponsored by Prime Sports Drink. And, you know, one of the cars you race is Red Bull. It doesn't happen like that. You're insulated from the really annoying advertisers. I even remember way back in like 2006, Fight Night Round 3 was the game that kind of got me to buy an Xbox 360. But then one of the unlockable characters was the Burger King King. What? So board games, knock on wood. You know, who knows with rising component costs, but knock on wood, there's no advertising creep. You're insulated from all of that nonsense. So number 4, reason why board games are better than video games, no advertising. Outside maybe the occasional, you know, catalog that comes with the game, but who cares about that? Number 5, you have fun with people in the same room. Back when I was in college, Call of Duty was really becoming a thing.
Call of Duty.
We're gonna set up a trap in the gun room.
And the way you play Call of Duty was one person would play at a time and you pass the controller around. This worked out when you had, you know, when we were a bunch of college kids with more free time than we really knew what to do with. And we would alternate between going on the laptop versus kind of watching your friend play Call of Duty / playing it a little bit. Now that I have less time, I want to make the most of it with the people that I see. When I see a friend for the first time in 3 years, we're not going to alternate playing a video game and watching each other unless that was like really our thing. If we want something to enhance, to have fun doing, we're gonna play a board game. You can do things with people in the same room. Like, your body is a component of a board game. I don't know if people really think about this, but especially with social deduction games, a lot of games you have to lie. And you lie with not just what you say, but how you say it and your body language. There's more going on, and it more feels like you're spending time with people, not just spending time next to people. The days of split screen video gaming being dominant are kind of gone. The days of LAN parties are kind of gone because you just play online. Yeah, you spend time together while you're apart. You know, you have a long distance relationship with your video game friends. I'm not gonna say you have an intimate relationship with your board game friends, but you know, I'm also not gonna go down this road. Number 6, there's more upside with board games than video games. That is, the most fun you can have playing a board game is more fun than you can have playing a video game. Partially because of all the things we've said before. You'll have moments where, you know, you're coming down to one last flip of a card or one roll of dice and everyone like stands up and you're excited and you go roll the dice and you need a 4 but you roll a 3, but not everyone realized you had this ability. You flip over to say like, no, I can roll again, and you roll again, and you still don't get it. And there's excitement of people in the room. People are like, grab each other. It's almost like team wins the championship. There's something about that doesn't happen when you're playing video games remotely. You can still have highs and lows, but that type of celebration is much more common. You'll have sometimes where, I'll flip over a card in, like, say, Skull. I think I'm about to win the game by flipping over 5 roses, and I forgot that I was bluffing. And I flipped over a skull. And it's hilarious. People are laughing at me.
They're laughing with me, Michael. They're laughing with me.
And it was fun. That doesn't really happen in video games. If they're not in the room with me, they can't see me. Be like, it doesn't work. This is why people will put up with the rule book in board games and put so much time into organize a game night, read the rule book, teach it to everybody. This is why you do a game that has such a barrier to entry, is because the payoff is that great. And that is really the biggest reason why board games are better than video games. So let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with that. If you like videos like this, you want to see more like this, be sure to subscribe to Jackson's Warfield. We'll see how often I have to record this outside. I've never usually been recording outside. Helps that I live near a field. We'll see you in the next video.